Many shelters are at max capacity right now. Join Jake and Ben at Performance Toyota with Best Friends Animal Rescue at 2380 US 89 in Bountiful, Wednesday from 10 till noon, and help more animals find homes. DJ and PK, we are joined now by the voice of the Aggies, Scott Garrard. Scotty G, good morning.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Do you want to run out there and hit a three-pointer Saturday night?
I'd like to take a crack at a free throw. How about that?
Okay, yeah, that'd be good too. I've seen games pivot before, but that was pretty dramatic. They scored with like 15 minutes to go in the game. They go up 9. It's the typical bedlam. The students all have the multicolored shirts going. They're screaming at the cameras. There's no idea that everything's going to come to a screeching halt. That game really pivoted in a heartbeat.
A 43-15 run over the last 15 minutes of that game. And, it got out of hand in a hurry. And New Mexico's a really good team, but you're up by 9 with 15 minutes left. You probably should find a way to close that game out and not lose by 20, that's for sure.
Wasn't it just one of those things, though?
Could be. Yeah, could be, for sure.
The starters aren't going 0 for 13 from 3. And the right guys got the shots.
Yeah, and that's the thing that they came in as the number one 3-point shooting team in the Mountain West Conference at nearly 41%, and then they go cold, and you go cold from your two big guns, and Ian Martinez and Mason Falslev, and both those guys can't make shots, including free throws, and yeah, things are going to get away from you pretty quickly, and that's exactly what happened. Now, the question is, was it something New Mexico did, or was it something that it was a self-inflicted problem? And I think that's what they're concerned about. It. Look, if it's one of those nights, then you strike it up as a bad day at the office.
Right.
You keep doing your thing, and things will be fine. Or is there a trend? And that's what's a bit concerning from this coaching staff is that this team had some struggles against UNLV. They've had some issues shooting the ball over the last couple of games, and so they're hoping they can nip that in the bud here real quick.
When Imart goes 2 of 7 and he's 90% from the free throw line. Yeah. When Imart goes 2 of 7 and he's 90%, come on, and he goes 0 for 7 from 3. I'm almost glad that stuff happens. Get it out of the way now, because it's devastating to lose the game, but it's only devastating to lose the game in the moment. Yeah. It's not seasonally devastating. I will say, what's the deal with Falslev and the free throws? That's a little more concerning.
Well, yeah, and that's and I know this hasn't happened to you, PK, but I know there's that you get the yips with your golf swing sometimes. And right now, if you look at Mountain West play, Mason Falslev was 78, 82% free throw shooter throughout non-conference, and then he got into conference play, and he's hovering around 40%.
Right.
And it's. I mean, I hate making a general statement like this, but when it comes to free throws, it's kind of all upstairs when you've shot as many as these guys.
Yeah,
and so it's now in his head. And the problem is so much of his game is attacking the basket and attacking the rim. And I think that it would, and I haven't talked to Mason about this, I haven't talked to the coaching staff about this, but I got a sneaking suspicion that's got to affect your aggressiveness, because if you're afraid you can't make free throws, how aggressive are you going to be trying to get to the rim? And how aggressive are you going to be, trying to get the end one or getting that contact that normally is going to get you at the line or at least get you a bucket? And I think that's affected a lot of the other aspects of his game from that perspective. When that you can't make free throws, it trickles down to other aspects of what you do.
I get that, and I think you're right. So I think the message to him has to be double down on the aggressiveness, because that's the only way to push through the foul and get the bucket. So at least it's one free throw, not 2 you're shooting, and it's for the third point. You already have the 2 points on that possession, and every time you make them foul, they're more likely to be in foul trouble, and you're getting your team into the bonus. So he's got to think that way, because if the only thing you think of is I might get fouled and I might miss them, you're doomed. So you got to be thinking about the other stuff. I'm going to get the bucket. The free throw will be the gravy, and I'm getting this team into the bonus, and I'm getting them in foul trouble.
Yeah, And that certainly has to be the message. And maybe that is. It probably is the message, honestly. And I'm just trying to project how I would think mentally if I were in the same state that he was in right now. And that's part of my game. He's gotten a lot better with his three-point shooting this year. He's a little bit like Happy Gilmore when he learned how to putt. When he started making threes, that really changed who he was as a player and his explosiveness. But now when you don't have that same level of aggression getting to the rim, and it does feel like there's been a slippage of that there hasn't been that same work it, kind of get downhill as fast as you can and try to get at the rim and try to create as many problems at the rim as you can. And you wonder if those two things are related.
The only thing that really concerns me the most is Anderson going down, Tucker Anderson with an injury, and obviously he's had some big shots for the Aggies. So what's the situation there? I
know that they were taking a close look at him yesterday. I'll get a little bit more word on that earlier today. I've got a conference call with some of the coaches, so I'll find out a little bit more on where he's at. The one that really looked bad was Dexter Acano, who then all of a sudden near the end of the game ran back down the tunnel and got on the bench. Did not come back in the game, but sprinted down the tunnel and was available to come back in. So that's one you'd breathe a real big sigh of relief because that looked real bad when they had to carry him off the court. So right now it appears that Acano should be good to go. The big question is going to be Tucker Anderson, who with that ankle, you never know if it's a high ankle sprain. It could be a little bit longer. If it's a regular sprain, then hopefully you get him back on the court for Wyoming, which Wyoming's kind of an interesting team. And I know, PK, you'll roll your eyes when I say this, but they're a team that
a lot of close games.
A lot of close games. They really muck up a game and slow it down and make you play ugly. And they've beaten some teams, and they've given some teams some fits.
And that's over there,
I anticipate
right?
It's in Laramie.
And I covered Utah's great teams, and I don't think I ever covered a win in Laramie.
Wow.
Okay.
That's crazy.
So there's a lot of that, but hey, they've beaten some teams. Vegas. I'll give you Vegas, but Fresno and Air Force are terrible. Fresno and Air Force are combined 1-21.
Close games. That's what freaking Boise got in the playoff by losing a close game to Oregon.
Okay, that's two different things.
It is not.
It is too.
It's the same thing.
That's such a classic PK move.
It really is.
It is.
It really is.
All I heard is they lost to Oregon by 1 point. And who'd they beat?
Weren't they 12-2?
Who'd they beat?
Wyoming's 11-11. They beat the Mountain West.
Well, they play more games.
Losing to the Mountain West.
That's 21 years of this.
They play more games in basketball. And come on, the guy is nude and he's got a barrel around him. If that doesn't throw you off, I don't know what does.
It's true. He's got a point there, DJ.
Yeah.
Now, did that happen? The Denver Broncos or the Wyoming Cowboys? Who had Naked Barrel Man first?
I think I think the Broncos did, and then Wyoming picked it up. I don't know the origin of the Naked Man in a barrel. I would like to say I'll do some research on that.
Hey, I've been there, man. Let me tell you.
NAU, who's out of control.
Did you know, Scotty, that I played high school baseball against referee Tommy Nunez?
Oh, Tommy's got himself in some hot water.
Why did he chase the coach across the floor? What happened?
That's a great question. I don't know what Troy Calhoun said.
Jared Calhoun.
Or sorry, Troy Calhoun. Yeah, now we're talking Air Force. You got me
easy, fly boy.
Yeah.
Hit it, Yak. We don't need much of an excuse for that one.
By the way, did Yak get that post-game sound from Jared Calhoun on Tommy?
We played on Tommy?
Yeah, where he said, I want him suspended.
He's saying, no, come on, man. He played shortstop for St. Mary's.
Well, he is quite short, so that works.
He did, and he was a good little baseball player for them.
I bet he was, but yeah, he lost his mind, and coach said he snapped, and it happened like 5 feet in front of me. So I had the best view of the house of the whole thing, and I have never once seen an official body up a coach before. If that happened, if a coach did that to Tommy Nunez, that guy would be gone and probably suspended and fined. And it was.
Tommy's like 4'2". I mean,
I know, right? He's got a little Napoleon disease or something. I don't know what was going on, but holy smokes, I've never seen Tommy snap like that before. Usually he's a little bit more calmed and composed than what I saw. So I don't know what Jared Calhoun said, but wow.
I saw him snap when I threw at his head once in baseball.
Good for you. I approve of that.
I said, take that, future ref.
Yeah.
We all knew his father was a referee at the time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
When we were in high school. We didn't know that Tommy was going to go down that road.
There was a oh, man, I don't even know if I should share this story or not. But
go ahead. I always think if there's doubt, go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
Especially if it's somebody else.
It's like when we used to do those old interviews with Larry H. Miller, and he'd be like, I probably shouldn't say this. And then we're like, all right, I hope we're recording because he's going to say something. But there was they used to do this, and they probably still do, with the team broadcasters. They would bring in the NBA officials at the time, a group of them, and they would go through kind of the points of emphasis that year that they would be looking at.
Yeah.
And one year it was Tommy Nunez and a few others that were coming in to the Delta Center and going over with the broadcast crew, and Matt Harpring was on the crew, and Matt was surly and didn't want to be there and was cranky with officials, and he had just gotten done playing, and I guess he and Tommy had some history, and so Tommy was trying to explain this new rule, and Matt's like, that's total BS, and him and Tommy start kind of snapping at each other in this like league meeting, and then Matt gets up and goes, well, what if I do this, and goes over and starts like going through the motions of a play and trying to set a screen against Tommy and putting like his shoulder into him and stuff. And I'm like, we're going to have a fight. We're actually going to have a fight here. And it's not going to last long because Matt will break him in two, but holy cow, this is impressive.
Nice ethics, man.
You got faith in New Mexico now, sprinting to the finish line here, or they're going to drop a game or two, and San Diego State's in fourth place, and they're going to be back in it, and this is going to be a wild Mountain West finish right here.
You're Aztecs, man. I can't get a beat on those guys. They look great at times and don't look good other times.
That's
and I guess
why they're
maybe
in fourth place.
maybe that's everybody in the Mountain West right now. But you can go from, and this is what I think is somewhat concerning, because you got Boise and San Diego State and New Mexico and Utah State and Colorado State has suddenly gotten good again. And so everybody's looking at this conference, and you can go from winning a regular season title to starting your tournament on Wednesday very quickly. And so I think people realize that just a slip up here and there or a 2 or 3 game losing skid, and you can be in a bit of a bind very quickly against some of these teams. So you look at New Mexico, they still have some road games they have to play. They still have to go to San Diego State. They still have to go to Boise. Utah State still has to go to Colorado State. They still have to go to Boise. So, yeah, there's this last 10-game stretch is going to be pretty fascinating to see how it plays out.
Ultimately, it's about getting in the NCAA tournament. You would take that over winning a regular season title. So I think that, the Aggies are going to be okay unless there's a complete and total collapse that we don't foresee. And same thing probably with New Mexico. With that in mind, I say 3, possibly 4 teams get in, particularly if that 4th team is San Diego State, because they've earned the benefit of the doubt, and you can act like last year and the year before and all that stuff, and tradition and history doesn't count, but they're human beings, and we know that San Diego State is a tournament team that normally does well once they get there. So if they're the 4th team, I think you will have an opportunity in this conference to get 4 teams, which is probably best case scenario.
Yeah, and considering this year, that would be a tremendous win for the Mountain West if they got 4 teams. I think you're looking at probably 3, with San Diego State being that 3rd team, with Utah State and New Mexico.
If they're the 4th team, they get in. Unless,
if you have a
collapse.
Exactly. If you have a situation like last year where New Mexico was not going to get in, but they end up winning the tournament, getting the auto bid, so that got them that extra team in. So if that happens, yeah, sure. That certainly is in play. Absolutely.
So CSU's a fraud. That's what you're saying.
Oh, man. I'd like to think so, but I don't know yet.
What's wrong with that CSU? You don't like no Moby Arena?
No, I think it's a dump. I hate that place.
I love that place, man.
Really?
Fort Collins, get out of town. That's
I like
a beautiful
Fort Collins.
place.
Oh, I'm not hating on Fort Collins. I like Fort Collins.
That's the charm of them. They're snooty. They're academic. They barely care about athletics. So, of course, they're going to have an arena like that.
What's academic about Colorado State? Really?
Fort Collins advertises itself as per capita the most college graduates in the community.
Oh, well, good for them.
Did you know that?
I had no idea.
Yeah, because many people, they either work at the Hewlett-Packard, which is you pass it on the way, or they work at the university.
Yeah. Well, there's a big Buc-ee's gas station there. I'm sure a lot of people work there, too.
And that's where Stu Morrill lives. He maintained his residence there, didn't he?
He does. Yeah, he moved back there about 5 or 6 years ago.
Right. So clearly that is a special place, and you're jealous because you're from Idaho.
No jealousy on Fort Collins. There are some places where I get quite jealous, but you make that trip down to San Diego.
Montezuma's Castle, or on the Montezuma, sure, yeah, of course.
Yeah, there's some jealousy
and you're going
there.
in the winter.
Yes.
Well, although any time for that matter, but especially the winter.
Fort Collins, not so much. I'm
How
I'm
about
fine where I'm
Albuquerque?
No, hard pass. Good food. A lot of good food down there, but that's
Albuquerque is the only arena where I openly rooted for the team that I was covering.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because those fans would drive me nuts. And
Was
make you sit up, and they got their knees right in your back.
Was Snake there when you were there?
The sewer rat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's a scary.
I think he's been there for like 50 years.
Yeah.
He's immortal.
But you can't tell how old he is. He's all tatted up.
Yeah, he got banned for a little bit, and then a new coach came in. It wasn't this coach, but it wasn't Patino, but the coach before, and said, we're bringing Snake back, and made a big deal about how they were welcoming him back.
75-year-old ladies flipping off Utes and Cougars, I thought, okay, this is too much.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
But you see that in Albuquerque because that's the only show in town.
Yep. And they're the ones that really, in fact, I was talking to somebody from UNLV who you know that's on that coaching staff, and we were talking about NIL, and he said, everybody thinks that we got the money, that we're spending money in Vegas. He goes, we're doing okay. He goes, but New Mexico, that's the team that's pumping out the NIL money for their basketball team.
Yeah,
because they're not spending it on football. They're putting it all into basketball.
It's New Mexico, BYU,
not a bad idea.
and Arizona.
Gonzaga. They don't have football.
All right, and another conference, yeah. I mean, BYU, Scotty, can you believe it? I mean, my gosh.
I mean, DJ's 10% going to a good cause.
Excellent point.
Yeah.
And I think he upped it to 11.5.
I know, right?
I've got something funny to say, but I don't know if I want Yock to play it forever.
Go ahead.
Fire away. Colorado State's in the 70s in net ranking, and Ken Pomeroy. They better win that conference tournament. They're not getting out
they
of
would
large.
be the one winning it. Yeah.
Yep, they got to do it. All right, DJ and PK join hands with Scotty G live at RGS Exteriors Thursday from noon to 3, 4235 Farm Road in West Jordan. Hands and Scotty G. Scotty will be back. Stop by, say hello, and he'll have Wyoming stories for you. He'll be back from Laramie by then. Can't wait. Exactly. You flying? You driving?
No, I'm driving. Actually, filling in for Locke tonight on the Jazz game. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to take off after that and make the overnight drive to Laramie, do the show from there tomorrow, call the game, and then be back on the road so that I can do the show on Wednesday. So, yeah. Me and I-80 hanging out. We're going to spend some good quality time together.
Scotty G, beast mode. Look at you go.
DJ, you'd have no idea.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you, Scotty.
You got it.
DJ PK coming back. Brian Geltzeiler, SiriusXM NBA radio host and NBA TV contributor, will talk fast and have big opinions on the Lakers Mavericks trade and what are the Jazz doing with all these second-round draft picks. Stay with us.
Now let's get this party started.
This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G.
There are a couple of reasons that I didn't become a doctor.
Same reasons you didn't become a paleontologist?
Why do you crack a smile and then make a joke?
I'm just saying, there's a couple of reasons I wasn't a lawyer. Number one, the LSAT scared me. Number two, I thought I'd fail miserably. And number three, I didn't think I was smart enough. So, yeah, there are just a couple of reasons why I didn't become a lawyer.
Can I make a point without you attacking me?
I'm not attacking you. You've never talked about wanting to be a doctor before. To me, this seems like you were just right on the cusp of going to medical school, and then just these one or two little things came up and made you think, no, I'm not going to do that.
Doctor.
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 Can you not attack me? You know, it bugs me when you do that.
Doctor. Doctor. Doctor.
Stop playing that.
And doctor. Well, we miss anyone?
Catch Hans and Scotty weekdays from noon to 3 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. We're brought to you in part by Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan Wealth today, your local trusted financial fiduciary, 801-899-7600, or visit their website at TrajanWealth.com. Time to welcome Brian Geltzeiler back to the show, SiriusXM NBA radio host and NBA TV contributor. Brian, good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing, guys?
Doing well. Big NBA trade. There were multiple trades, actually, that were interesting. But obviously the massive one with the Lakers and Mavericks, and the Jazz the third team in that. And we figured we'd have to give you a call. And I'm curious about how you found out about it. I was about to go on the air, and a guy was showing me it was a social media post, and I'm thinking, is that a fake account? Did Shams get hacked? Is this really it? And I'm wondering, were you even awake? It was so late on the East Coast.
I was not. So I had dinner with my wife and some good friends of ours, and we came home, and she fell asleep, and I was just watching TV, and I got tired, and I had to get up the next morning, take my son to a basketball workout. And I was like, you know what am I going to stay up for? No need to stay up. I think it was the Portland-Phoenix game was the last game on. I was watching a little of that. I'm like, I'm going to go to sleep. I woke up in the morning. And I was like, wait a second. I saw it on Instagram at first. I'm like, wait a second. This looks like, how many fake trades do you see people post? And so I started to look at the Shams account on Instagram, and I'm like, no, his name appears to be spelled correctly the entire time. And then I went to Twitter, and I get Twitter notifications for Shams. For whatever reason, I didn't get him that day, and I started to comb through. And then I saw Bobby Marks Bobby Marks tweet, and Bobby Marks talking about it. And I was like, Bobby's talking about it? This happened. And so it took me a little while Sunday morning to actually believe that what I was seeing was real.
And your reaction to it?
Okay, my reaction to it. Listen, I will push back on a lot of the critics of this deal.
I knew you would. You're from Jersey.
I'm going to push back on the critics to this deal. So what's the big objection with this deal? There's two things. Number one, selling on a 25-year-old player who took a team to the finals last year, who has shown to be someone that, from a historic standpoint, early on in his career, has shown a unique ability to carry a team. The second part of it was, well, how do you just make the first deal? How do you not shop it? Let's hit the second part of it first. So I'll ask this question, you guys. Dallas Mavericks, a future team or a now team? They're a now team.
Now.
Right?
Yeah, now.
They're
Definitely
a now
now
team.
Yeah.
Okay? You're going to trade Luka Doncic. And you're a now team. You want to find one of the top 10 players in the league. Anthony Davis is one of the top 10 players in the league. Dude's averaging 27, 13, 3.5 assists, 2 blocks, and a steal. The Lakers are in a 5 seed, not because of the 40-year-old LeBron James, but because this guy's been unfriggin' believable. He's missed 5 games all year. Played 76 last year. Where else were you getting a top 10 player in the league to come into this team and fit better than Anthony Davis is going to? The answer is you weren't. And Nico Harrison targeted Anthony Davis in this deal. So everybody wants to look about, well, they got 5 firsts for Bridges and 4 for Gobert and 5 for Mitchell. Go through all the deals about all the firsts that were traded. Those firsts are useless to the Dallas Mavericks because they want to win a title now this year. And listen, make no mistake, if Dallas doesn't win a championship in the next 2 years, this trade's a failure. That's what they have shoved all their chips to the middle of the table. But if you were going to do this, you have to have a player targeted in mind that you want to be able to have be your lead dog for this team. And I think in terms of what they were going to do, if they decided that they didn't want to pay Luka and they didn't want to keep him, this is the right guy. Let's go to the first part, 25-year-old, right? Guy struggled with his weight a little bit. Like this whole Tim McMahon reported he's at 270. He was playing earlier in the season at 260. So with a calf injury, he put on 10 pounds. Okay, that to me doesn't panic me. But here's the stuff that panics me with him. Number one, they worry a little bit about his lifestyle. He's a party boy, loves to do that. Now, he's not the first guy that was. Number two, they worry a lot about the conditioning aspect, and they have a tough time getting him to take that seriously. But here's the other stuff that I heard. The rehab stuff he wasn't working all that hard on. They got concerned, is he working as hard as he can work to get back in our lineup? And one of the things they looked at here, and I think it's important to note, guys, you're going to sign a guy to first of all, they weren't sure he was going to sign this contract extension coming up in the offseason. Nico Harrison said this and was transparent about it. We are under the belief that he was going to turn around and shop to other teams and see where else he could go. Now, if he's going to do that and put you in that spot, you lose leverage. So Harrison can make the case he had the most leverage right now in this situation. Okay? And here's the thing. If you can't get the guy to rehab hard now and train hard now and get in good condition now, you think you're going to get him to do it once you pay him the $340 million? The answer is no. You're not going to. So they looked at it that way and said, we're not sure we're connecting with this guy on the level we need to connect with him on to get him committed to our organization in the way we want him committed to our organization. Here's the one thing that I will say, and this is my small criticism of Nico Harrison in this deal. You had the Lakers engaged. The Lakers were not going anywhere on that engagement. The Lakers, it fell in their lap. They understood it, and they had enough organizational self-awareness to realize, even though we're in the 5 seed, even if we make a deal and add a player, our title hopes are a Hail Mary this year. Not saying they're gone, but it's remote for them. We now set our organization up for the next 8 to 10 years bringing this guy in. So you had the Lakers on the hook and wanted to make the deal. Just get both their unprotected picks. Don't just take one. And I think the deal could have gotten done that way. With all that said, I think that's a relatively minor criticism of Nico Harrison, and I think he did what he had to do here. And I understand it. I absolutely get it. And I think, it's going to be really interesting to see how Luka Doncic responds to all this. Because if I'm Luka right now, I'm fired up that they got rid of me and they didn't even want to keep me around. Like, that would really, really piss me off if I was Luka Doncic. So we're going to see how he's going to react, how the LeBron influence affects him. Is he going to get in shape? Listen, the guy's a wonderful player. But he's played with a chip on his shoulder. The chip should have here gotten a whole lot bigger, and we'll see how that shakes out.
I totally buy that. I just can't stop thinking of in the playoffs last year, they get the big win, and he's celebrating with a beer, and on camera, in front of people, Finley comes over and takes it away from him without saying a word. I don't know if people have an idea. I don't know how completely they realize how much stars get kowtowed to. That was borderline disrespectful and said, oh, there's a lot of history there. Finley's an ex-player. He knows how the league works. He didn't just do that. There must have been a bunch of conversations leading up to there. I think the organization's fear of him long-term was huge. I think they had their doubts for a while. Michael Finley wouldn't have done that if they hadn't had a lot of conversations and a lot of stress over his conditioning.
I think you are spot on about that. I go back in the history here. Okay, by the time Rick Carlisle, they were ready to get rid of him, Luke and Carlisle had run their course. Luke had had enough of him. He didn't want to play for him anymore. He gave Carlisle a hard time. I want you to think about this, guys. You look at the Boston Celtics right now. All right, now, they haven't played great lately. 2 guys are carrying that team right now. Jason Tatum, who's been fantastic this year, and Kristaps Porzingis, who is playing at a really, really high level. Part of what's happening for Porzingis, and this has happened since day one last year, him and Jaylen Brown are best friends, live in the same building. He has fit into the social and emotional fabric of the Boston Celtics. He is a well-liked teammate. He's a teammate these guys like playing with. He gives what he has. He earned a whole lot of respect last year playing in the NBA Finals when he was far from 100% and needed surgery. Porzingis is a roll-up-your-sleeves, do-the-right-thing kind of teammate. Luka ran him out of Dallas on a rail. Luka didn't want to meet him halfway. Luka didn't want to pay him the proper respect. Luka didn't want to work with him. Okay, Luka's been a tough teammate for a long time. And, yes, he and Kyrie on the surface appeared to play nice in the sandbox, but he didn't want to really partner with Kyrie on leading that team. Kyrie has all the leadership responsibility. And by the way, Kyrie Irving's fine with that. But with a guy that has all the leadership responsibility, probably should have the ball the most in this situation. And Luka, he was never going to have the ball the most in this situation. So that, I think all of that certainly has played a role here regarding all of this with Luka. And again, I go back to the money, but you're absolutely right. This whole thing has worked for a long time. This has been building with the Mavs and Luka. And Luka, because here's the other thing. Now, I've spent some time over the years with Luka. He's been a professional basketball player since he was 13 years old. He will absolutely remind you of that if he thinks you're getting it wrong. He's pretty arrogant. And Luka has a way, without using a lot of words, to let you know that he thinks he's better than you. It's just his way. But when you've been a pro and you've had the flowers he's had thrown at him since a very young age, there's going to be some entitlement and some arrogance. This is a really, really big hit to Luka's ego, that they were like, you know what, we don't want to be in business with you for the next 8 to 10 years in spite of what you've accomplished with us. And that, to me, is the craziest part of all this. But, again, watching Luka here with the Lakers is going to be really interesting. Here's one other thing, guys, just as a quick aside on this. After this deal, I don't think either of these two teams are done going into Thursday's deadline.
How about some other teams? What do you think might happen between now and Thursday?
Well, I was surprised. Let me say this about the Fox trade real quick. Yeah. I was surprised to see Sacramento not get more high-quality picks. And I'm not blaming Monty McNair or Wes Wilcox in that front office, because I think those guys understand that the best mode right now is to tear this down and collect as many picks as possible. And Fox, Sabonis, DeRozan, you get rid of them all. The problem that they have here is I think this owner doesn't want to do that. And I think ultimately, if you want to get better, that they're going to have to go the route of the Jazz. That's what I think Sacramento needs to do. Jazz ownership, Ryan Smith's more than willing to do it with the understanding that Danny Ainge has built championship teams before and understands how to do it. And I'm not comparing Monty McNair and Wes Wilcox to Danny Ainge, but they're not dumb guys. They understand what's next here and is to go into full-blown rebuild. The owner won't let them do it, because the owner is terrified of having the building be irrelevant for 2 years. That's part of the deal. You look at any team that's had success, including the Lakers, by the way, because before LeBron, they were a mess for 6 years. You have to go that route for a period of time to be able to build your team back up. Sacramento is stuck in the middle. How often do we see teams stuck in the middle ascend to the top of the conference? The middle is a place that you pass, NBA purgatory, okay? You pass through it. You don't reside there. Sacramento now 2 years is residing there. And the Washington Wizards will tell you the only route out of the middle is downward. And I think Sacramento's postponing the inevitable with that deal. Other stuff I want to talk about, listen, I couldn't be more turned off with Jimmy Butler. I don't know that Miami can necessarily move him right now. If you don't want to sign an extension with the Golden State Warriors and play with Steph Curry, then what are you doing? Well, he thinks that Phoenix has to go get him. And he wants to go be with Matt Ishbia, because Matt Ishbia is going to pay him more money than anybody. So Jimmy Butler can give you all this nonsense about, I'm about winning. Well, Memphis would have paid you a nice, rich extension to be able to go there and have the right pieces to put in place for him to go join Morant, Jaren Jackson, and Bane. He don't want to live in Memphis, so he won't go there. So, hey, you really want to win that bad? How about the Bay Area, California? What a beautiful place to live. You go play with Steph Curry in the twilight of his career and Draymond and have a chance to really do something. But you didn't like what they're going to offer you in an extension? Jimmy Butler he's been a horrible teammate here the last couple of years in Miami, really, really bad. And now you're in a situation where you're making this as hard as possible for them to trade him. Listen, the one thing Phoenix has done here that could be interesting, and I think this is the conundrum Phoenix is in regarding a Butler deal. They traded to the Jazz that unprotected 31 pick for 3 lighter protected picks. All right? What I think they would like to do is say to Miami, we'll give you 2 to take Beal's contract for the next 2.5 years. We'll give you 2 first. Miami wants 3. And if I'm Miami, I would want 3 too. And by the way, if I'm Beal, I waive my no trade to go to Miami. Great place to live and a great opportunity to rehab your career and get another contract when this one's over. So if I'm Beal, I do that. The problem they have is that Mike Budenholzer's completely alienated Yusuf Nurkic. Then Nurkic had it coming to him. Nurkic played terrible last year, high turnover guy, and I didn't think they were ever going to find success with Nurkic, and Budenholzer's come to the same conclusion. Problem is, if Nurkic isn't playing, he's a horrible guy to have around. And Nurkic is miserable. The two aren't talking. No one wants Nurkic's contract. They literally have to hold out one of these first-round picks to try to see if they can get someone to take Nurkic's contract. So they're caught between a rock and a hard place. And the answer may be unload the Beal contract, get Butler, and then buy Nurkic out of the rest of his contract and send him home and let him go play for somebody else. That may be the answer for them. But Jimmy Butler has created a horrible mess, and I got to tell you, I would not bring him into my organization and sign him to a contract extension. There's an old expression about a guy like Jimmy Butler right now, guys. The juice ain't worth the squeeze.
Right. For however bad it looked before, when he didn't want to sign an extension with the Warriors, I mean, there's already major red flags up in the air, but my gosh, that's just unbelievable. But
if you want out, is there a better opportunity?
Well,
to
he
be out?
Thinks
Phoenix
so,
is
but
the better opportunity. He thinks Phoenix is the better opportunity. But you're also the way he's handled himself. Beggars can't be choosers.
Yeah.
Like you've made this bad, man. Let's just make it bad. And so you're going to get to that point. Miami's taking cents on the dollar as it is. But now you're going to turn around a quality organization, a championship organization. You're going to say no to playing with Steph Curry?
Yeah,
really?
They got saved from themselves right there. They got saved from themselves.
Because you know what? All it's going to do is put them in a higher spot in the play-in, and they're going to exit early.
Yeah.
It's probably going to cost them an asset that they probably shouldn't part with to try to pad this team. So I totally agree. They get saved from themselves there.
Brian, we love it as always. Thanks for coming on. You're the man.
Guys, it is my pleasure. Always, 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 always enjoy talking to you guys. We'll do it again soon.
Brian Geltzeiler, SiriusXM NBA radio host and NBA TV contributor. Join us right here on The Zone. We're going to take a break. When we come back, your feedback next. Stay with us.
And it's all over almost here.
Don't go nowhere.
906 votes. Friday, we put up the poll question for the weekend. What should the local NHL team be called? 55% of you want Mammoth. 35% of you want Outlaws, and it's a long way back to Hockey Club and other.
I'm going Mammoth since I found out that I think I remembered that it was Van Halen's original nickname, or name of the band, not nickname. But
that's hilarious that they couldn't use the band as they started to blow up because they found out somebody else had it. Well, for a fallback, we'll go with this name that will now be synonymous with a decade of rock and roll.
And then there's debate on who named them. They had some ego things that got in the way of their success. But for a while there, they were massively successful. And I found out that Alex Van Halen and Eddie took piano lessons in San Pedro, California, my California hometown. Their dad drove them down from Pasadena to Pedro.
Jazz picked up 3 second-round picks over the weekend. What do you think they're doing here? Brian says the Jazz don't even know what they're doing. They'll probably dump both Tucker and Bamba and keep the picks. Well, Bamba's already happened, right? Gone.
Yeah, and I think that they would keep the salary opportunity for Tucker to see what they do there. But as someone who hasn't played in over a year and a half, and he's got to be in the upper 30s by now. He was a nice kind of junkyard dog type player when he played.
Yes. Tough guy.
Yeah.
Could hit a big shot.
But I think his day is come and gone.
Oh, you think?
Well, with the Jazz, maybe somebody else.
He's 39.
Yeah. I knew he was upper 30s.
I mean, awesome for him to stay around that long, right?
I think it was a contract. He hasn't played in over a year.
Yeah.
The Clippers told him to stay home. But it is awesome that he lasted that long because it was basically on just grit and determination.
What are the Jazz doing here? John says I ask that question every year. What are the Jazz still doing here? Move to Vegas. John. It's a bad attitude, John. Come on now.
Not moving to Vegas. That's just not going to happen.
Jason, I'm pretty sure the Jazz are asking themselves the same question. They saw an easy road to picking up some second-round picks, and they can trade them or sell them, flip them for something down the line. See what comes next with those.
Well, so far, the moves that they've made, you have to believe one leads to another.
Right.
They're not a move unto themselves, end of story.
It's the move that sets up the move.
I would say moves, but yeah. Right. I think that's where you're at with these guys and what they've been doing.
We're out of time. Jake and Ben are next with more on a big weekend of trades in the NBA, and the trade deadline is until Thursday. There could be more. Jake and Ben are next.